We're all like, man, I wish I could have bought property back then.
But isn't that what people are going to be saying about us
Absolutely.
in 40 years?
Yeah.
Welcome to our podcast. This is our first episode ever, so bear with us as we struggle to make this exciting. This is called Home for Good. I'm Pat Cannon. This is Nick Judd. We'll be your hosts. And what is the concept of this podcast? Why are we doing this?
Just really giving good information to anybody that needs to know what they want to do with real estate. So we're going to cover topics not only like residential, but we can go right into commercial, some different investment opportunities, and what's going on in the market today. Because it's confusing with all the hoopla of different news stations saying good, bad, ugly. So we're going to dive into more statistically based information.
Let's kind of go over what they can expect in future episodes, because this episode, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about renting versus buying, but as we go forward, what are we going to try to cover?
So I think we're definitely going to talk a lot about what's going on, market trends, right?
Mm-hmm.
People want to know what's going on, how that increases their value of their home, or in some cases decreases. I think we can also talk about what people could do to improve the value of their home. People are always looking at ways to make things a little bit better. What improvements make the best bang for your buck? Mm-hmm. Next things we could probably, or we will add in, is investment opportunities.
Yeah.
Both, just your normal single family rental to complex storage facilities. So we'll look at kind of a gamut of different types of investment opportunities.
Yeah, and I think some of the other things that we're going to cover, we're going to look at questions that we get asked all the time. We're going to try to make it easy for you to understand those questions. What are the answers to them, as well as a lot of common things that we see in real estate and mistakes that are made or that can be made. Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit, let's shift gears. Let's talk about our last event. What did we just do this month with Gigi's Playhouse, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think this is probably, as a whole, our favorite event.
Yeah.
It's our longest standing one, which is Photos with Santa for Gigi's Playhouse. And what's just amazing about this one is the people who come get an opportunity to sit and enjoy being with Santa. It's not rushed. You've got time, opportunity to just really allow things to naturally happen, right? I think Lizzie loves that more than anything. She just loves just seeing the children go from completely terrified to slowly making their way to Santa's lap and then sitting and smiling.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So how long have we been doing that now?
I think this is our fourth year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it fourth or third?
I'm not sure. I think it's our third full year.
Yeah. I know when we started initially, right, it was starting to say, hey, let's have our VIP clients come and do photos with Santa. And then April kind of piped up like, well, what if we did it with Gigi's? Because people with Down syndrome have a harder time going and getting pictures with Santa because usually the long lines, lots of people, too much stimulus, makes it difficult. Mm-hmm. And we shift gears, right? We changed it and just said, well, let's just make it about them.
Right.
Let them come in, have a more relaxed, patient, kind of environment where they're already used to, and they don't feel rushed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes from here. Obviously, when we started, we had 30 people sign up. We had almost 60 people sign up this year and came in, and every year just gets bigger and better. So I'm excited to see what happens.
And those pictures are just right. They're
heartwarming
oh my gosh. Pictures.
Yeah.
We'll post a few.
We'll throw some in here so
that'd
that
be awesome.
You can take a look, but they're great.
So that was our last event. It just happened a handful of days ago. We're excited for when that comes back around a year from now, but we're going to do some others that are going to be more specific to our VIP clients, our friends in the community, and we'll get those kind of announced as we get them going.
Yeah. Now, this event, it was specific to Gigi's Playhouse. They're one of our worthy causes that we do support. Tell us a little bit about Gigi's specifically and why we support them, what that's all about.
So Gigi's Playhouse is an organization that came about to help those with Down syndrome through the normal tasks of daily life, right? Simple as, we'll get them in there, they can have coloring classes, to more complex ones where they have cooking and learning how to do those kind of things. Different skill sets to just really help them learn and grow in an environment that's really tailored and worked out just for them. It's all free. So it's an amazing foundation that we got connected with from our good friend April Davila. She was a big part in the chapter that was set up here in Sacramento, and just got it up and running. And we love April, we love her son, and it just became kind of natural to start working with them.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. There are other groups that we do support too locally here, like the Salt Mine. We'd love to give our time and donate to them as well. So,
well, and then all the good things we do for the other high schools, like Roseville High School.
Right.
There's definitely the other ones, and we have lots that we like to work with.
Yeah.
Highlighting GJ's because that was just a cool photos with Santa.
So like Nick said, we do a lot of different events for these worthy causes that we do support. But we do events for our clients as well, and we will keep you posted on some of those. We'll talk a little bit later in the episode about some of the things we have coming up. Let's shift and let's look at the current market. What's going on out there in real estate, Nick?
All right. So the crazy news is always like rates are ridiculously high. And, coming from the COVID era, yes, we've doubled in rates. But historically, we're still at a pretty good rate in terms of rating. The nice thing, over the last 4 weeks, we've actually been stepping down. So
I don't know if you saw what happened yesterday. Late last night, as I was reading through the news, there was a big drop in rates. Looks like it dropped about 25 or so basis points last night.
So what does that mean in basis points, so we can kind of dumb it down a little bit?
Percentage.
Yeah. Sometimes lenders throw that out.
Percent.
Like I know what they're talking about, and I do, but a lot of people don't. But so it's just 25%.
Well, 0.25.
Yeah. And what that does in a payment is significant. Right. When you're borrowing $500,000 or $1 million, that 0.25 percentage basis points really makes a difference on a monthly payment. We're still low in inventory, right? Yeah. We're low even because it's the holiday time, but we're also low statistically just based off of time, because you've got a lot of people with those lower interest rates that are sitting on the fence going, well, I ain't gonna sell until rates come down or something else happens. I think there's a pent up demand of potential buyers that as rates start to drop, they're gonna flood the market, and potentially we'll see another increase, coming up as rates come down.
Yeah, I mean, that's just very basic supply and demand, right? You have buyers who aren't really willing to buy right now, or who are all, like you said, waiting for that interest rate to drop. And then you have a bunch of sellers who don't want to sell because they have a great interest rate on their house. And so we have low inventory, and we have all these buyers just waiting for that rate to drop.
So as soon as the rate drops,
what's going to happen? Buyers
flood in, low inventory, housing pricing goes up.
Yeah. And we're back to
fighting multiple offers, overpaying in terms of like what appraisals come in at. It'll be a mess. I honestly hope it doesn't, because we're at a nice market right now where buyers do have a little bit of time to look at a house, and if it's a great house, right now houses still move quickly. It's the homes that need a little more love that the homeowner hasn't taken care of that we're seeing those ones sit a little longer.
So the other thing that I think could affect it, kind of looking forward, is what do we have coming up next year? We got an election.
Yes.
And could the Fed artificially drop rates to gain support?
Have they done it in the past?
I mean,
it sure looks that way.
I wouldn't put it past them, is all I'm gonna say on that. So,
and if that happens, then we're still, I think we're at the same prediction.
So what do you think if I'm renting a house right now? Is it a good time to buy?
I always tell people you need to shop based off of your needs and budget of the current information, because trying to time the market is impossible. And over time, what happens is most people say, oh, I'm just waiting for this, and I'm just waiting for this, and I'm just waiting for this, and this just waiting moments turn into days, months, and years, and before you know it, You got renters that have been in houses for 5 years going, well, I'm just trying to time the market. And I go, well, had you bought even 2021 when everybody was fighting over to win houses and they didn't want to buy because the rates were great, but they didn't want to compete, they still lost equity. They lost out in the great rates, and now they're still renting. So it's kind of what we want to talk about. Like, if you are planning to be in an area and you have to live somewhere, and the foreseeable future says you're going to stay there for a while, you should take a look at what the information you have currently, what the market looks like, and if it fits your needs and fits your budget, find something to get started. Because that's what I did, right? That's how I got started.
Let's take a look at this renting versus buying calculator that we have set up. We created this last week. Just
you say we as if I have any skill set in this.
I created this last week based off of a lot. I keep getting this question a lot. Is if I'm renting right now, should I rent? Should I buy? What should I do? The question is always, how long do you plan on being in the house? And where are you looking to buy? So let's go into looking at this. We'll blow it up on the screen for you so you can see it. But
one thing we should point out, right, is this came about looking at what I think is relatively new but becoming popular, is a builder coming in and building, what is that community, roughly 70 plus homes or more. They're all single family homes, and living the idea of, hey, come rent one of my homes because that's better financially for you, because you don't have to take care of the house, you don't have to do anything. We'll even teach you how to be fiscally responsible by saving a couple $100s a month so that maybe one day you can buy a house. And so we looked at it and go, well, someone lives there for 10 years, what is really the effect?
Right.
What is the financial gain or cost over time?
Right. So. Well, and really, they're preaching that you renting that house is a better option for you.
Yeah.
And my initial knee-jerk reaction is that's a better option for the person buying the house, which is the person who's telling you it's better for you to rent.
Yeah, it's great for the developer.
Right, exactly.
We figure out 10 years he pays off the house that he built.
Mm-hmm. So we calculated it roughly just based on estimated numbers. If you're in the house for 6 to 7 years, you've paid off their mortgage, and so now everything you pay to them is profit. So that's great for them. But let's look and just kind of compare what happens if you decide I'm going to buy a $600,000 house as opposed to renting that same house. So we're going to look apples to apples here. And we calculated based off of some of these communities and other data in the area, that size of a house is going to go for roughly between $3,000 to $3,500. So we set our rent at $3,200 a month. The other thing that we do have to calculate into the whole equation is your rent's most likely going to increase someplace between 2 to 10% every single year.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal. So we calculated it at a 3.9% increase per year, which is on the low end.
Yeah. When you say percentages, that sounds like a lot, but if you're renting at $3,200 a month and they just raise it $100, that's about 2%. So anybody who's rented knows that if they are a good management company, they do increase those rents. And there's a reason that they do that, because we're in an area called rent control. So if they don't, that rent could be locked in, and that's bad for the landlord. It makes it difficult on our side, right? When a landlord doesn't do that and we have to turn around and sell it as an investment, unfortunately what happens is they got to kick that tenant out so that we can rent it or sell it vacant in order to increase the value to what it should be.
Right. That's some of the assumptions that we've made. We did make as well the assumption that the appreciation on the house that you buy is going to be roughly 3.6% per year, which is also on the low side historically for our area. We're normally about 4.9%.
Yeah.
So we tried to make everything really realistic when we put this together. So just if you look at numbers to numbers, what is going to come out of your pocket over a 10-year period if you rent you're going to pay roughly $460,000 out of your pocket. If you buy, you're going to pay $440,000 roughly out of your pocket.
So right now, out of my pocket, if I was to just say every month I make the same payments, both on the rent and buy scenario, I'm still already ahead by buying.
Yeah, you're about $17,000 ahead.
Okay.
Buying over renting.
Yeah. But typically my mortgage will be higher, right? I mean, than rent, typically.
Yeah, so at the beginning, your mortgage is higher. You're paying close to $300, $400 a month more. Plus, if you were to live in a community that has an HOA or you have high metal roofs, that can affect the cost of your payment.
Yeah. But my payment's fixed if I've got a 30-year note,
right.
So it doesn't change over time with some small changes of maybe property taxes, and those are just incremental changes compared to what could happen in rent side.
Yeah.
Okay.
With your rent, I can guarantee you your landlord is never going to voluntarily decrease the amount that you're paying.
Yeah.
What's going to end up happening is you're going to say this is too expensive, and you're going to end up moving to find someplace that's cheaper.
Yeah. And right now in our market, that if you did get that 30-year note and it's 7% interest rate and rates do come down like we discussed earlier, you just refinance and you get that savings.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on a lot of loans right now, you can actually refinance for free in the first 2 years.
Yeah.
So another benefit there, buying over selling, or buying over renting.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go ahead and look. So whenever I explain this to people, they're like, well, what if the price of the house doesn't go up?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a great point, right?
Yeah.
So the cool thing is we've worked this into our calculator. If your price does not increase at all and you sell it for the same amount that you buy it, when you go to move, after you pay all your sales costs, you're going to walk away with roughly a $40,000 check. So I'm just going to give that back to you.
Okay, so how does that work out? Because I gave him the money and the house didn't go up in value, so therefore, where does that money come from?
So every time you make a payment, you're paying down your loan. So you have amortization gain, which is the amount that you paid off. You're putting that into a piggy bank.
Okay.
And so you go to sell, they're going to give you the money that's left over.
Perfect. So in 10 years, that's like saving $4,000 a year.
Yeah.
But you didn't do anything. You just lived there.
Right.
You really
So
didn't
save any extra money.
Yeah.
You just lived there. Plus, you'll be about $17,000 less money out of your pocket. So you're looking about a $45,000 swing when you move out.
Okay.
When you're renting and you move out, they're going to hand you a bill for maintenance costs. And
That needs new carpet because
Right.
you've been there for 10 years. You got to paint the walls because, well, if you had kids in that rental, we have kids. I already know what they do. Just had to replace the dishwasher. Right.
Yeah, super fun.
It's super fun.
So all those costs are going to be billed to you at the end when you move out. But now let's look if we appreciate at the rate that we have been appreciating, and that's pretty normal for our area. When you move out, instead of getting a check for $40,000 after paying everything, you'll get a check for $265,000.
Now, wait. I get this question a lot. Don't I have to roll that into my next property so I don't have any capital gains on that?
No, you can actually take $250,000 per person, and you don't pay any capital gains as long as you're in the house.
Up to 500.
Up to 500, yeah, well, up to 500, as long as you're in the house over 2 years.
So I could go do whatever I want with that money.
Right,
Okay.
and this is all assuming that you only put down 5% on the house.
Okay. So we put down more this.
If you put down more money, then you have more money off the thing.
Yeah.
But what's cool is why did you move?
For me, we moved because we wanted to move.
Right.
Because we sold the house and we bought another house, right? We wanted a bigger house.
So you moved up. So now the size of house that you're purchasing is greater.
Higher price. We took the equity out of the last house, applied it to the next one. So really our payment didn't change that much. I think it went up a couple $100.
Right.
But our house was twice the size.
Yeah. So if you put 5% down on this $600,000 house, you're putting down $30,000.
Yep.
You're getting $265,000 back. if you want to put 10% down on your next $800,000 house,
Yep.
now you still have $180,000
Do whatever
to
you
do
want.
whatever you want with. Or you can put more down on the house and get that payment even lower.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of options now, and that's all because you decided to put your money into a giant piggy bank that you get to live in.
Yeah. That's the thing when people ask me what's the greatest thing about real estate, and I have to remind them that typically Americans, we're horrible savers for the most part.
Yeah.
But we do need to live somewhere, and we usually like to live somewhere nice. So if you do buy a house and you make those monthly payments, you are in a sense just putting money into a bank account that is just going to be there for if and when you're ready to sell to come back to you. That's like no appreciation. The money came back. I got some value out of that asset or that home, which is why we call it an asset, right? Because it actually is returning money, where rent is a complete liability because it doesn't matter how much money I put in or how long I'm there, that profit, that benefit goes to whoever owns that property.
Yeah, one thing that, we were talking the other night, when we look back at history and we're like, man, my grandpa bought this house for $30,000 and, he sold it for $600,000.
Yeah. We're all like, man, I wish I could have bought property back then.
But isn't that what people are going to be saying about us
Absolutely.
in 40 years?
Yeah.
Man, I wish I would have bought property then. My starter home is $2 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, that is the direction that it's going.
Yeah. I get this one a lot when it even comes to like rates, right? They're like, oh, I remember when rates were 17%. And I have to sometimes it steps me back and I go, yeah, but your houses were, $30,000. So, fluctuation maybe isn't quite the same, but you do have to put fluctuation back into that whole equation, meaning, well, yeah, they also only made $10,000 a year.
Right.
Relatively, it's probably still all the same.
Yeah. I mean, our average annual income right now in the United States is about $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
And, you go to bigger cities and it's multiples of that.
Yeah.
So everything, like you said, is relative.
Yeah. But go back to that same original idea, 20, 30, 40 years from now, we'll be saying the same thing. But our numbers will be different, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, man, I wish I would have bought that house for $100,000, it's now, man, I'm glad I bought that house for $500,000 because it just sold for $2 million and it's a starter home.
So that's really the benefit of buying over renting, is that you do get to keep some of your money.
Yeah.
No matter where we live, we're gonna have to pay for that place to live in.
I also don't know of any other thing that really allows you to do that, right?
Right.
So some might argue cars could do that, but my issue with cars is, well, they depreciate when you use them. So I don't have the luxury of owning multiple cars that I get to kind of take turns driving to keep those mileage down.
Yeah.
Now granted, could I keep one long enough and sure it might turn into a collectible?
How long do you have to keep a car for it to be classic?
I don't know.
30 years?
I remember as a kid looking at the IROC Z Camaro thinking that is the world's ugliest Camaro, and I think you could have bought one for $8,000 to $10,000 brand new, and I mean now they're still selling for 30 to 40. Really, really nice ones can get $100,000, but again it goes back to, well, they have to be all original, they have to be less miles, the more modifications, the more upgrades and stuff that's done, that kind of almost lowers the value of that car. I don't have that about. But houses are kind of funny that you can beat the crap out of them, right? We've seen it where we go into people's houses and we're like, well, they haven't done anything in years. We've sold 2 houses this year with this scenario where nothing was done for 20 years, yet it's still worth more money than when they bought it, and it's in a lot worse condition because we sold those to investors for them to fix up and flip.
Yeah. I mean, the most recent one that we did, right?
Yeah.
The house was built in 1928. They bought the house for pennies, really.
Yeah.
And it's been in their family since the 40s.
Yeah.
It just passed on and passed on and passed on. And so that house has been paid off since 1970.
Yeah.
And they just sold it for cash for upwards of close to $400,000.
So one of our investors came in and said, yeah, we'll buy that house for $400,000, even though it is what we call functionally obsolete. It only has one bathroom. So that lowers the value, because what it means by functionally obsolete is that most people want 2 bathrooms.
2, at least.
Yeah. So they're going to go in and put in another bathroom, and they're going to do a bunch of other stuff to increase that value to probably the high 5s to maybe even the 650 mark, depending on what exactly they do. But again, nothing was done to the house. I mean, it wasn't upkept, it wasn't improved, and the value still went up.
Yeah.
So I just don't know of any other thing that does that. That's why real estate's awesome.
I think that's a really great overview of why buying over renting in most cases is gonna give you the best bang for your buck and be best for your future.
Yeah. So are there cases, just play the devil's advocate real quick, are there cases where renting really makes more sense than buying?
Of course. If you're only gonna be there a year or 2, I mean, it's gonna be really hard. One, with capital, you could have capital gains if you have,
if you have nice appreciation.
Good appreciation.
You may be okay with paying some capital gains.
Yeah. But really, you probably won't put down enough money to make all your money back on buying a house.
Yeah.
You could, but it would be tough.
Well, in some cases, like where you've gone for school, or I do have a lot of military families that come in the area because we're close by the air base, by Bill, and when they're in there for an assignment of maybe a year or 2, I don't know that the cost really outweighs the benefit on the buy versus sell in that scenario. So yeah, there are some great times to rent, and those are the things. Well, like I said, go back to the idea of what's the plan, what are you doing, and does it fit in your budget, and is it the right time?
Right.
So, not to poo-poo or be bad about renting all day long, because there is perfect times and opportunities for that.
Yeah.
Just if you know your plan is changing and you're pretty stable in the area in which you're at, I don't see a downside to buying. Not having the crystal ball, I feel like if you're going to be there for a while, you will reap the benefits of buying versus renting.
Of course. Well, that kind of wraps it up for this episode. We do have a few things coming up. We do want to let you know and make sure that you're following us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, so that you can be part of that. What's coming up in January that I'm really excited about it. This is one of the things. I have ADHD and my brain goes all over the place, and this is one that I created, and then it goes and it's coming to fruition.
So you're excited about it.
I'm excited about it. So tell us.
We're going to try our first social media giveaway. So there will be no really requirements. You don't have to buy a house from us or anything. Just follow us. And then we're going to give away, because it's January 1, we're probably all tired of being in our home. So we're going to have some cool gift cards that will get you out of your home. 2, we've just spent a bunch of money on Christmas. So maybe going out for dinner is going to be a little more tight. So hey, why don't we give you an opportunity to go have a good time with your family? So each week we're going to start with something small, just a $25 gift card, and then we're going to build it all the way up to kind of a nice evening out with the family.
Yeah. So this is going to be our Winter Wins giveaway. It's going to be every Friday in the month of February, right? Nope.
January.
Man, those alliteration every time. So it's going to be every Friday in the month of January. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on social media for all the details on that. Okay. So next episode, what are we going to talk about, Nick?
We're going to talk about rates, as everybody's concerned on how high they are. Let's show you some tools we can use right now to get the rates down lower, both permanently and maybe semi-permanently, to drive your payment down as low as we can to get you in now, instead of having to fight all the buyers that are going to be coming in as the springtime starts to heat up.
Yeah. Now, if you would like to have us answer any questions, or if you have anything burning in your mind that you just want to get out, please go ahead and comment and let us know, and we'll do our best to answer those in the coming episodes. Also, if you would like a copy of this rent versus buy calculator, go ahead and comment calculator in the comments, and I'll shoot you over a link so that you can play around with this on your own and see all the different numbers. So go ahead and do that. We're going to sign off, but thank you so much. We're excited about getting this podcast going and talking more about our home for good.
Yeah. Just making sure everybody has good information, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to get it out there sometimes.
So that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Well, signing off for now, but we'll see you next time for our episode of Home for Good.